When someone dies, one of the biggest practical challenges is simply knowing who you're supposed to tell. Miss the wrong organisation, it can cause delays, unnecessary stress, and sometimes even financial problems. The good news is that you don't have to figure it all out on your own. In this video, I'm going to show you who you need to tell, including some that are not obvious, the quickest way to notify several government departments at once, the category many families forget completely, and one simple habit that can save executors hours of frustration later on. Hi, I'm James, and on this channel I help executors and families understand probate and estate administration in plain English, and that includes what to do after someone dies. If that's something that would help you, I'd really appreciate you subscribing because I publish practical videos to guide you through the journey. Now, let's get started. Before you begin contacting organisations, there are three things I'd recommend. Firstly, register the death. Secondly, obtain several certified copies of the death certificate. Although more organisations now verify deaths electronically, you'll often still be asked for a certified copy. Thirdly, if possible, establish whether the deceased left a will and who is likely to be dealing with their estate. And finally, if you've already appointed a funeral director, they'll often be able to offer practical guidance on some of the immediate next steps. And that will make many of the conversations much easier. Now, before we start working through banks and utility companies, there's one government service available in England and Wales that could save several hours of phone calls. It's called Tell Us Once. If it's available when you register the death, it allows one notification to update several government departments. And that can include organisations such as HMRC, the Department for Work and Pensions, the DVLA, the Passport Office, and your local council. It's a fantastic service and can save huge amounts of time. But here's something many people don't realise. Tell Us Once doesn't tell everyone. There are still a number of important organisations that you'll need to contact yourself. And let's start with the ones most people think about first. Banks and building societies, credit card companies, mortgage lenders, investment companies, life insurance companies. These organisations need to know so they can explain what happens next and what documents they'll need from whoever is administering the estate. Most major organisations now have dedicated bereavement teams, and many also have online forms specifically designed for this situation. A practical tip: one mistake people sometimes make is rushing to close every bank account immediately. I'd avoid doing this until you've understood the deceased's finances. Regular income may still be arriving, direct debits may still need identifying, and you want a clear picture before closing accounts. Now, most people remember the banks. The next category is actually much easier to overlook. Think about all the household accounts: gas, electricity, water, broadband, mobile phone, TV license, and streaming subscriptions. Again, most providers now have bereavement teams or simple online notification forms. Practical tip: if the deceased owns their own property, take meter readings as soon as you reasonably can. It makes final bills much easier to deal with later. Now, if they owned their own home, there's one phone call that could save thousands of pounds. Don't forget the insurance company. If the property is going to be empty for a period of time, your insurer needs to know. Many policies have different conditions once a property becomes unoccupied. Practical tip: don't simply cancel the building's insurance. The property may need ongoing cover until the estate has been fully administered. Now, in a moment, we'll come to something that barely existed 20 years ago, but is now surprisingly important. But before that, if the deceased was still working, contact their employer. Their HR department can explain any outstanding salary, holiday pay, workplace pension, or death in service benefits. If they had a private pension, contact the pension provider directly. And now for the category that catches out far more families than you might expect: their online accounts. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, Google, email accounts. Most major platforms now have bereavement request forms where you can either request the account be memorialised or removed. Practical tip: before asking for an account to be closed, think about whether there are photographs, messages or memories that the family may wish to keep. Now, there's one final habit I recommend to every executor. It only takes a minute each time, but it can save hours of stress later. Keep a simple notebook or spreadsheet. Every time you contact an organisation, write it down. Who you spoke to, when you spoke to them, any reference number, and what was agreed. When you're dealing with 20 or 30 different organisations, you'll be amazed how quickly conversations start to blur together. Having good records makes everything much easier. Although there are lots of organisations to notify, don't feel you have to do everything immediately. Take it step by step. Use the Tell Us Once service where it's available. Keep good records. And don't be afraid to ask organisations whether they have a dedicated bereavement team. They often do. Now, we've covered who you need to tell, and the next question I hear all the time is, do I actually need probate? The answer surprises a lot of people because not every state requires it. I've made a simple video explaining exactly what probate is, when it's needed, and just as importantly, when it isn't. I'll put a link on screen now. I'd recommend watching that next because it's the natural next step after notifying everyone about the death. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.